Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in today. And thanks for all your lovely comments that you leave. You know, it is so nice that you pop in, we have a bit of a chat. And also, I love it when you comment and then you actually comment on each other's. And I know there's a few of you that have struck up crafty friendships through these lovely videos. And that, I think that's so lovely, especially if you're on your own at home. I think it's so nice to have crafty friends that you can pop in and say hello to. Makes such a difference. Today, I thought we'd create a design something similar to this. And I'll explain why, first of all. A couple of you have been in touch and said you're new to Lavinia and it's always lovely to have new crafty friends, but you've only got limited supplies. So could I create a design using limited supplies? So that's job one on my list. But also, a few of you have been in touch and said Mr. Mojo's gone on holiday. And as we know, he does this time of year. I think, he's been busy over Christmas and New Year, and he suddenly decides January, February, off he's going to pop for his little vacation. So, there's all things in here, ways that I think you can entice him back. So that's my other thing. And also, if Mr. Mojo has gone, and sometimes we almost get a bit bored, a bit fed up, maybe you don't feel very well, maybe now's the time to create some lovely designs like this, which I think could be a get well card, a birthday card, a new home card, a thinking of you card, and put them in your box. And you know what? Let's have a stash ready so that if we're busy and we suddenly think, oh, I forgot my friend's birthday, or something happens to your friend and you want to send them a card just to say, I'm just thinking of you. Let's have some ready in our box. I mean, I was so pleased this year I had so many Christmas cards ready because we've been making them and creating them for the last few months. So that's all the ideas behind this design. So enough waffling, sorry. You know I go on. This is an 8x8 card, but you could alter it. I always say you could alter it to make your oblong cards, your DL cards. It's just the idea what we're going off. And I have stamped on the back. I do like to just put something on the reverse as well. And also the envelope. We've got some lovely stamping on the envelope. And I've just added some Posca, which is permanent, so that if it goes in the post and gets wet, it's not a problem. Just be mindful, anything you use, your dye-based inks that aren't permanent, if it gets wet, it will run. And obviously you don't want that to happen, so permanent's the way to go on the envelope, in my opinion. So pop the envelope over there. Now this we could do with masking, but today we're just going to use 2 pieces of card. Just different way of doing it. If you want to have a go at masking and making your frame, that's fine. You know me. We like to have lots of alternatives. So we're going to start with 2 pieces of card. And for me, it's a way of using my smaller pieces. I've got so many offcuts, really, I'm using them up. So this is a 4-inch and this is a 7-inch. And I've gone all the way around with my black Sharpie, and I have left one, oh there we go, one side. So if you're new to this, I always do this at the beginning, just because if I do it at the end, it's gonna go wrong. There are some fabulous crafters out there that can do this at the end, but I am just not one of them. And for me, the best way is to just hold with a piece of kitchen roll my card and then just drag my pen, any permanent marker, down the edge, and you get that. And I also keep, I am sad, I keep a piece of copy of paper for me to use, look, for my edging, because I am that sort of crafter. So as I say, 2 pieces, 7 and 4 inches. And I think we'll do the middle one first. Now, when it comes to choosing a stamp, at Lavinia, we've got so many stamps that work so well for this. I've gone for this lovely honeysuckle. Mainly because I think it works beautifully on its own look. And again, if you haven't got many craft supplies and you're looking to just add the odd stamp, for me, this is fabulous. I've used it in so many different designs. It works lovely for clean and simple. You can stamp quite a few. I have to say I've even made a sympathy card with this and just done it in beautiful grey and lovely grey tones behind. So for me, it's a very versatile stamp. So as always, I pop it on my acrylic block and I'm just going to stamp in the black, the Nocturne. So this is your VersaFine Clair, your permanent ink. And I'm making sure I don't put my block on my piece of card, because I once did that and had ink on the back of my block. And I was so upset because I was using my piece of card up. But that's the sort of person I am. So let's have a look and let's give this a nice, we just want it in the middle at an angle. Now there's quite a lot of detail in this. So again, don't be in a rush to lift your acrylic block up. Give it a good firm press and then lift up, and there we go. Look at that, as I say, such a beautiful, beautiful stamp. I'm going to pop that on one side and bring in the border. Now, when it comes to the border, you have lots of choices with this. For me, I always go for my middle. And I'm going to stamp the middle all the way around, and then I will add my corners. But that's just the way I work. And again, with the middle, we have choices. So I'll stamp the first one to show you, and then I'll explain what I mean. What I love about this design is I'm going to show you how I've created the one I have, but there are lots of choices with this. There are lots of different ways you can go. I'm going to pop this in the middle there. Again, lovely. Now for me, I would always recommend turning your work. I just think it's easier. Now I could stamp, and on this one I'm going to, the design the same way on all 4 sides. But you could actually stamp it so you have the flower heads facing each other. And if you look on my original, that's exactly what I've done here. So I've got the 2 flowers facing each other here. And on this corner, you've got the 2 stems. Opposite corner, 2 flower heads facing. Opposite 2 stems. So again, it's just to show you a little twist to it. So because we want to do this one different, this one will do it all the same way around. But this is where I have to remind myself that's what I'm doing. So again, in the middle, lift it up, turn it round. And I've just cut the edge of the acrylic block. So just with Mr. Inky Binky, we'll clean that. So again, we're going the same way, aren't we? So roughly, just roughly, I'm just sort of eyeballing it. So it's roughly in the middle, and I'm getting sort of roughly the same amount of the design on. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is a handmade card. It's a handmade design. So we don't want it to look as though somebody's created it on a computer or it's shop bought. So again, so this one I reckon will go about there. So as I say, this one, we've gone the same direction. The acetate is fabulous, and as I say, I keep using it. So when it comes to the corners, what I did was I had a look and I thought, yes, I like that just in there. Now you could bring in another stamp if you wanted on the corner. You could stamp a sentiment, you could stamp a background, a verse. Again, lots of choices. As I say, I'm just focusing on if we've got limited amounts of stamps. So again, my best tip is turn it round. And again, I've just caught. I'll put this one here. And again, don't be in a rush. One more. And then the last one. We'll just bring that in there. Now this one hasn't quite, I'll point it out because I know some of you will have noticed. I'm not going to sneakily not say, obviously I was in a rush there, didn't ink it up, but I'm not worried because I'm going to add some Elements ink in the corner, and you know what, nobody will notice that. So again, don't worry. I could go over with my fine liner, but I don't need to. I'm sure we'll be fine. So what I would do is give that a blot. It's a slow drying ink, our VersaFine Clair. And when we add our next lot of ink, we don't want to smudge this. So when I was choosing a colour to use in my Elements ink, I sort of thought about what I thought would look nice behind my honeysuckle. So I decided to go for green sleeves. It's just a lovely, lime punch is nice. There's something slightly different about green sleeves. I'm not sure what it is. Hey ho. Oh, and by the way, if there's a bit of a shadow today, I am so sorry. There is nothing I can do. Unfortunately, it's a very dark day here in Crewe. That sounds ominous, doesn't it? It is just so dark. The weather is terrible. And I've done my best. I've got my daylight bulb, so I'm really trying to get it as best as I can. So please bear with me. I literally make these at home in my little craft room, so I just do my best. So again, if there's a bit of shadowing, it's just like you being here with me in my craft room, and it's so dark we have got shadows. So I'm going to use the larger of the stencil brushes, the number 9 for this. And as always, I ink up and then just pop some off on the lid. It just helps mix it. And also, I always start in the corners. And what I want to do with this is just add some colour just around the edge, but also over the stamped image. And I'm literally going to work my way around. And it's a great way of practicing your blending this. And the best tip again I can give you, always dab off on the lid and then ink up on the corner when you've got the most ink and you want that the darkest, and then just when you've got less ink on your brush, just pop down that side, look. Again, turn it round, ink up, go in on the corner, and then we've got less ink, so just go right down that side. And then when we have a look, so again, I would just check all corners. If you want them any deeper, you can go in, deepen those corners. Now again, we have choices now. What I quite like to do is take my fan brush and then just add a little bit of water. Just adds a little bit of interest to that background, and it will show up more where you've got the darker colour in the corners. And we'll just leave that to faux bleach and see how that looks. So we'll pop that up there. And then we'll just give this a bit of a clean-ish. So I hope you're feeling okay. If you're not, I know there's a few bugs around at the minute. So if you're under the weather, you take care of yourself. Lots of water to drink. Maybe you need some hot lemon. But maybe you need to just snuggle up. Or you might be one of our lovely friends down under where it's a bit warm and you're probably a bit too warm and you probably need a nice iced lemon cold water to cool you off. On the actual topper options here, you could go all the way around with green. But I just fancied adding some stencil work because I thought it's a bit too obvious going all the way around. And because this is quite green. And by the way, this is a lovely design if you just wanted to leave it in monochromatic. I should have pointed that out before I added my ink, but I forgot. I've told you, honestly, my memory is not what it was. But if you stamp this border, you could leave that. And then the main image totally monochromatic. And you know what? It looks stunning. Now, I'm going to come in with the Laurel stencil. And a couple of things here. these stencils are very delicate, look, so try and be careful with them. And when you're putting the ink on, try not to use your stencil brush backwards. Try and go in the direction of the stencil. And the other thing is, we've had quite a few people asking about different size stencil brushes. And I've got to be honest, for me, this is fabulous, the larger one, as you saw, for adding the colour around the edge. Now, it's also good with a stencil, but because this is so delicate, I'm going to move down and use the number 7. Now, the other thing is, a few of you have asked about cleaning them. I never clean my stencil brushes, but that's just me. Maybe it's just that I don't want to do cleaning, but I've got to be honest, for me, it just loses integrity. They never work as well as they did for me, but that's just me. What I do, if I want to go, I've used a dark colour on this. I think it was olive or Bermuda. And just in case it comes, all I would do is take my Inky Binky, and on a dry bit there, look, I would just brush any of the worst of that colour off. But honestly, I tend to use the ink so much, there's very little ink ever left on my stencil brushes. Now, the smaller ones, if I came in with one of the smaller ones, the number 3, they intense the colour of the ink and it will be too dark for me. I just want a nice light ink. So for me, for this design, the number 7 is perfect. Now, I'm just deciding where, remember, move your stencil round, but look, I like that bit that goes there. I want to watch I don't get this on, because I've done that before and merrily had a line there. And I've been so focused on this area, I forget. So I need to make sure the line's off, don't I? Get these corners out of the way, but I think that. So again, I'm just going to ink up my stencil brush and sort of mix it on the lid. And I'm going to do almost a bit of a tickle. So I'm being gentle, I'm hardly holding my stencil brush. And I'm almost doing a bit of a flick, but also a bit of a dab. It's one of those things, when you've done it, you'll develop your own tickle, as it were. But just be mindful not to catch or move any of these delicate areas. Now, I'm not sure how that looks. So I'm going to lift my stencil up and have a look. And there is quite a bit of colour there. I don't want too much more, but I need a little bit more. So I'll go back in and just gently down the middle, really, where I just want the extra colour. Gentle flick, just a bit more pattern there, a bit more down there. Let's have a look. Right, tiny bit down here. We just want to catch the edge of that design. Yes, lovely. I'm happy with that. So if you look, I've still got the white areas. Now, this in itself would make a lovely card, and you could do this direct on the card blank. So again, there's another idea for you. I tell you what, so many of these to get that Mr. Mojo back. Now, when you're cleaning your stencils, as you know, you can spritz your stencil. You can get yourself a spare piece of card. Let me mop that up. You can pop your stencil on, but dab it. And that will give you a nice impression of the stencil and also a starting point for another design, which again, sometimes that entices Mr. Mojo back. I mean, sometimes you might have an idea in your head, not sure where to go. It's quite funny when I got this piece of, I keep all my odd offcuts, I can't speak, on my shelf in a box. And when I got this one out, a few others fell off, and they all fell on Eric. So he's covered in lots of little bits. He's fine. He's still fast asleep, but he's covered in all the little bits of card that fell off. Right, if we lift that, look. Now look at that. Now I'm thinking fairy, bit more stamping. You see, for me, that is the start of a design. So we'll file that over there. If you just want to clean your stencil, though, I would suggest a spritz. Use your cloth and dab it. Again, I've learnt from experience, if it's a fuller stencil, you can sort of wipe it like that. But with these delicate ones, look, I find the best ways to get in the habit of dabbing them. And then that way, that intricate design will stay beautiful. So we'll pop the laurel next to Eric down there. So that's all dry. And let's add a little bit of colour to this. And I'm going to come in with my watercolour pencils. And I'm just going to do a bit of a cheats way of colouring. So I'm just going to put them there. And we'll go first. There's a nice green, which I've noticed is it's a bit random. It was in the wrong place. Oh, you know, I have a thing, they have to be in the right place. Right, there we go. And I'm just going to very quickly. Now, when it comes to colouring your flowers, if you wish, you can go and have a look and see and colour them the correct colours. You can do fantasy colours. You can colour any colour you want. It just happens I've got a lovely honeysuckle in my garden that flowers, and it's yellow and pink. So I'm going for yellows and pinks. And what I tend to do for the leaves, I just come in with a light green. I'm not doing anything difficult for the colouring. I'm just going to bring in some dark green. Just down the spine, look. Tracy's showing you where you want the darker colour. And then we'll just add some dark green here. And the stem, you can either do brown or green. It varies plant to plant from what I've seen. So the lovely flowers, I'm going to come in with yellow first. And don't worry that you've got that green ink behind. It will blend in beautifully. Now, as I say again, you could leave this. If you wanted a card and you hadn't got time to add colour, it does look beautiful, just stamped in monochromatic and no colour added, just purely the stamping. So I'm going to bring my pink in for these beautiful flowers. I love honeysuckle, they are so delicate. And the scent is lovely. Now these are my watercolour pencils. So again, you can just use your watercolour brush and blend them with that water. But I'm going to do that bit of winker colouring and just use my Wink of Stella. Two things just to blend the petals and the colour, but also it'll add a nice little bit of glitter. Just the right amount of sparkle. And again, like I say, I'm not doing anything difficult. But what I am going to do, I've noticed on my flowers, they almost have an orangey sort of tinge. So I'm just going to come in with my orange pencil look and add a little bit on the flowers on top of that yellow. And then just on the edges of some of these on that pink, just to bring in, because it's sort of a pinky orangey tone. And I'm not doing anything difficult, no fancy blending, just adding a hint of orange. And then what you'll see when we bring in the Wink of Stella, and again I'm going to start on the yellow, start on my lightest colour. And this is just going to blend the lovely pencils, but also it's going to add that bit of sparkle. I'm going to start on the yellow, then move to the orange and the pink, and that just blends that colour in. See, look, so you can do pretty quick colouring, but because you blend it with this pen, nobody will notice that you coloured it quite quickly. I mean, if you want to sit and spend a lovely afternoon colouring, by all means do. That will be lovely. Maybe put the kettle on. Now I've got a little bit of orange, so I'm just going to clean that off and then we're going to go on to the green look. But yes, put the kettle on, get yourself a nice brew, cheeky biscuit, and just sit and colour and relax and enjoy it. And you know what? I bet you'll feel so much better. But on the other hand, if you're in a bit of a rush, this is a way to do it. Now, I'm just going to clean that. While I've got my pencils out, I'm going to pop that to one side. On my finished design look, I have a butterfly. And as you know, I have a thing about this lovely stamp, and it's the pound stamp, the Mini Flutter. And also using up my little scraps. So what I tend to do is get myself a scrap like this. And then, and again, if Mojo's gone, if he's on holiday, if you do this, it's amazing. You know, I'll say you're not feeling so good and you're not up to doing too much stamping and colouring. Just stamp yourself a couple of butterflies, look. And I've got to be honest, the way I added colour, what I did was I looked at those three colours that I'd mainly used. So that was the pink, the green and the yellow. Well, actually, I think we'll go orange. Doesn't really matter. Put those out of the way. And then very quickly, all I did, look, was went for green in the middle, pink at the edges, and you know what, little tip, don't worry if you go outside the lines because you're cutting it out. And then I just put a little bit of orange in between the two, look, and slightly blended it, not too much. You know, no pressure. I'm going to put these away because you know me, don't want to drop them on the floor. And the little tip here is I started with the pink, look, and I just went all the way around the pink and then blended that into the orange. Again, all the way around with the orange. And then once I'd done the orange, I came into the green and blended that green into the orange. And just in case I've got any green, little bit, look, wipe it on there. There we go, it's clean now. And then, you know me, I have a little, one of our gorgeous little storage tins. And these are just in the department, the storage department. And look, I cut them out. So once they're cut out, look, and again, I've got different colours, different Lavinia stamps in there. So if Mr. Mojo's gone, maybe get yourself a little tin and create some embellishments with all our lovely different stamps. There's roses in here, because you never know when you need them. Glossy accents, look. And that might just make yourself a brew. Sit down and make yourself some lovely embellishments. So many things we can do. Now, I'm going to have a look on here. Let's see if this is dry. Give it a bit of a blot. Now, the faux bleaching, I don't know if you can pick it up. It's subtle in the background, but also what it's done for me is, I think I can get away with this corner now. This is the one where it didn't stamp perfectly, but I've got to be honest, to me, looking at that, it's just a background. And once I add this, see, I think that's lovely. I really wouldn't worry. So what I'm going to do, going to add this now. Now, we have foam pads on the website. If you want it to be raised, you can use your 3D foam pads or your glue gel. I'm going to use my Bippity Boppity glue. You know, I struggle saying that because it gives me a bit of wiggle time. And I'm just going to buy eye. Now, again, if you're into measuring, you can measure it. I'm just going to go, yes, I reckon that's fine for me. And this one I'm putting flat. So I'll get myself one of my butterflies. Now, again, it might be that you want to have a couple of butterflies. I've used the butterfly as a bow before now. It might be you want to add a couple of butterflies. I mean, so many options. I think we'll just go for one, and I'm going to pop it here. But just with my fine liner, because obviously we cut his little antennae off. So before I stick him down, we just need to draw those back on. And again, you can either 3D your little butterfly. My little gentleman's going flat. There. And I'm just going to add, now, if you don't like these, I'm giving you that alert. It's the Posca Splats. This is the yellow, the sparkle one. You know I love this one. And just get my brush. And I just want to add that little bit of interest. Just around and over the top of the butterfly. Now it might be you want to add this instead of the faux bleaching. If you want it more obvious, white splats would look lovely. Again, that's another option. I just like the sort of the subtlety of this. And then finally, I'm going to add myself a bow. So we have the craft yarns on the website. So for me, the best way to do this was to choose 2 colours of the. Now again, you could do 1 colour, but I've gone for these 2. And I'm just going to cut myself, I think. Oh, the little robin's just sat on my window. Let's go and fill the bird feeder up. He does that if it needs feeding up and it's raining. So the trouble is it's all going to get wet. But I've got one with a little cover on it. So anyway, I digress. So I've got 2 threads here. Now, you've probably all got your own ways of tying a bow. But I just make 2 bunny ears like that. Put 1 in front. And then that one goes round the back and in that little gap and pull. And then, now I know that some of you are going to say, you missed that. I'll show you it with 1. Oh, shouldn't have done that, should I? Right, if we show it with 1 first. 2 bunny ears. And that's just bunny ear. That one goes over the top. But then you take it round the back and in that little gap there and pull. And then you manipulate it just to get the right size and to get it tight. So you can do that with 2 colours, or what we could do is make another one and stick one on top of the other. So we've got the 2 bunny ears. This one goes over the top and we've got that gap there, look. So we're going to take that one round the back and bring it through that gap and pull. And then that's a bit slack, look. So what we need to do is make these a bit smaller and then pull these to tighten it up. And you can vary the size. So again, make it a bit smaller. But like I say, you probably know how to do this anyway. And we can put these one on top of the other. So let's just cut our dangly bits. It's January. We're going to cut them off. They're gone in the bin. Now, which way around shall we have this? I think that one just needs to be a bit smaller. So as I say, you can, once you've got the method, you can put 2, 3 different strands, or as I say, you can do them separately, like I'm going to do here. Bittity boppity glue again. It dries clear, so don't worry. And I'm going to leave those strands quite big, but once it's dry, I may just come and take a little bit off those. Cut them down, but for now, I'm just going to leave them. And what I tend to do is let it dry and then have a look. But also it gives me time just to see whether I like it or not. And then I can manipulate it. See, that's going to annoy me. Get on top, behave. Right, that's better. Thank you. Right, stop faffing. Last little thing, we need a sentiment, don't we? And I'm going to go for our sentiment stickers, set 6. And I'm going to go straight in for nature. See, I bet you thought that was going to take me ages, didn't you? Normally does. On my scissors. And I'm just thinking in this corner here. And that also gives me room if I wanted to add one of our greetings. So I've got nature to go along with the design, but I could easily add a birthday greeting, a get well soon, thinking of you, best wishes. So like I say, there are so many ways you could take this. There's the original, and there's what we've created today. The original one, I've got inspirational flowers, but again, it gives me room if I want to add another greeting at the top. So thank you very much. I know we've spent a little bit longer today, but I just thought it was important because I know a few of you have been a bit unwell and you've just felt a bit down. So it was important that we just took our time, had a lovely catch up and created something. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're still awake. Mind you, I've probably sent a few of you to sleep, haven't I? Anyway, you take care. I'll pop back again tomorrow. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.